I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the newest winner on the Pro Tour, Scott Williams. Thanks for the time, Scott. How you doing?
Excellent, mate. Thank you very much. Thanks for asking.
Good to hear. And there is only one place to start. That is with last week in Germany. A little over a week now since you won Players' Championship 17, your first Pro Tour title. I know you've been away playing at the weekend as well, but has it fully sunk in now what you achieved in Niedenhausen?
It has now. Obviously, I had a lot of people on social media, and a lot of it took a day or so just to get through the messages and the thank you, the well dones, and getting back to obviously as many people as I could. But now, yes, it's all sunk in, and honestly, it's gone, and I'm ready for the next one.
Well, let's rewind to when we last spoke to you, and that was just after you won those two titles on the first day of the Challenge Tour in January. And as we know, it opened up a lot of doors for you. After that weekend, did you have to sit down and map out how your schedule was going to work because suddenly the diary filled up a lot more?
Yeah, chat with the manager and just generally looking at what was going to happen, especially for the next 3 or 4 months after the Challenge Tour. It was pretty simple what I was going to do. I had to put the Challenge Tour first because there was a clash of Challenge Tour and Pro Tour a couple of months in. But I think that is now changing. I'm not sure what I need to take priority over now. That's the tough thing to choose now. So obviously I'm going to go into the next one. Hopefully, just go for it. And the aim is now the match play, because that's in 3 weeks' time, and there's 5 events to go. So I could potentially do it, and so that's what I've got my eyes set on now.
Yeah, we'll come on to that. And I think it was only 2 weeks between that first Challenge Tour weekend and the first lot of Pro Tours, which you got that call up for. You've obviously played in Pro Tours before, but how did you approach it this time round, knowing that these would probably be the first of many that you'd be playing in this year?
Yeah, I just felt really lucky to be there, especially after Q School was not successful at all. And then obviously a week later, the Challenge Tours back to back. It feels incredible to be able to do that. But yeah, going into the first lot of Pro Tours, like I do most of my time anyway, I enjoyed it. And you just don't expect to be there, and then you just get on with what's in front of you, regardless of the reasonings for you being there or how you got there. You just get on with it, and that's what I try to do.
Yeah, it looked like you enjoyed it. Looking at those first lot of Pro Tours, the first 8, you had 2 last 16s, a quarter final, plenty of scalps in there as well. Dimitri van den Berg, Dale Gurney, Ryan Searle, to name a few. How pleased were you with that return?
Yeah, it feels great. And it just proves just them results that you're saying there, and that was before I actually started playing well. That I just probably deserve to be there, and my darts are showing it, and I'm going to just. Obviously, I want to be there at the end of the year, and now my chances are even higher of getting my tour card, whether it is via the Challenge Tour or whether it is in the top 64, the Order of Merit. But it was always the aim to get there, and I'm not far away now.
You mentioned earlier as well the second Challenge Tour weekend that took priority over the Pro Tour, and it turned out pretty well, winning the first title of the weekend, a key 180 in the decider in the final with Scott Marsh helps you get over the line. Did that take the pressure off for the rest of the weekend, knowing that you had that title in the bag?
Yeah, it does. It would have done anyway. But then you have players like Stephen Burton and Danny Van Tripp that start picking up wins, and obviously, even though I am still 2,300 ahead like I was before I started, that weekend, it's not a lot in comparison to how many events are still to go. So the win's always good, but I've got to start picking up money when I'm not winning as well. I seem to flail out in the last 64 or the 128, which isn't good enough if I don't win. So I need to start picking bits of money up just to add on to what I've already got.
And another tour that we've seen you on this year is, of course, the Euro Tour. You had that win over Peter Wright in Leverkusen. You came through a decider with Adam Gavlas in the first round before that. What was that experience like, going up on stage, playing against the world number one with that big crowd as well?
Oh, it's incredible. Probably I would say, even though I obviously won back-to-back Challenge Tours, I won a Pro Tour with that thing. Playing stage against Peter is probably my favourite thing in dart so far. Just being involved in just seeing his iconic walk on from 6 feet away instead of seeing it on the TV or 100 metres away in the crowd, and just enjoying it regardless of the wind, regardless of hearing everyone's name chanting Peter. I was at the edge of the stage chanting Peter's name mid game. That's how much I enjoyed it. So I'm hoping. I'm obviously Tria this next week. I'm in Tria next week in the Euro Tour. I'd love to play Peter again and hopefully beat him again. I've obviously got to get through the first round first.
Yeah, we see that you enjoy yourself on the stage. Were you tempted to join in with Peter on the dance moves?
So tempted. So tempted. I was going to say something before we played, but no, there will be a time when I do it. But if we play each other again on stage, but honestly, it was just with people not really knowing who you are. You don't want to try and take the mickey a little bit and try and people will say I'm probably too big for my boots at the minute anyway, but you don't want to get too much involved when you're there to do a job. So as enjoyable as it was, I was still there to do a job, and it wasn't fantastic, but I got the job done.
That's fair enough. Well, plenty more people know your name after last week in the title in Germany, and let's get on to last week, those two Players' Championships. You played well in the first one, losing with a 95 average in the first round, but going into those two events, did you feel like a title or a run like that was on the cards?
Not so much. I think definitely looking back over the season on the Pro Tour, there's been one or two opportunities that I feel were probably better. The runs in the competitions were better. There was one where I think I was 4-1 or 4-2 up against Connor Scott and ended up losing that 6-4 and missing doubles. And I think that day, if I would have beat him and got through Keane, then I would have felt like that was probably my opportunity. But obviously, like most people do when you're playing, you have a quick look at your board, see who's on your board, you see Johnny's name, and you kind of go, oh, here we go. Okay, that's the kind of name I've got to get past to do anything today.
Me and my guest co-host on the show this week, Andrew Sinclair, we were talking about your run to the title, and I mentioned the quality legs that you were producing at times to close out games, the 11 darters to beat Johnny Clayton and Rob Cross. How much confidence does it give you when you're able to throw a leg like that at the crunch moments?
It's excellent. It's really good, but at the same time, you kind of go, why can't I do that all the time? Why can't you do that all the time? Why are you putting in these sloppy 18 dart legs? And I obviously I say sloppy as well as all the other guys on the tour, because 18 darts is not what you're looking for, is it? 15 or below. But when you're putting 18 darts in and then you're starting to miss darts at doubles and you start going, oh, why can't I just do these 11 darts all the time? It'd make life so much easier.
Yeah, we'd definitely all love to do that. And after winning the title, you mentioned about Rob Cross and his manager, Rab Bain. They've helped you this year. You had the win over Rob in the quarterfinals. How much of a help have those two been for you while you've been playing on the tour?
Yeah, I mean, not so much Rob, not so much the last couple of months, because he's been not ridiculously busy with both have. Obviously, I've been about as well the Challenge Tour and Pro Tour. He's been away for exhibitions as well as Euro Tours. Euro Tour's been mental for months and months. So we've not managed to get a good practice in since the beginning of the year. But Rab himself has been fantastic to me. He always looks after me. He only lives in the next village over as well, so it's easier for me to go places, and he's always there. If I need something, I need to speak to anyone, he's always there, and the bloke's got so much confidence in me. The last thing he said before I went on the board is, you're the best player in that room, go and prove it. And that's what I tried to do.
Well, you definitely did that after beating Rob in the quarterfinals. You beat Chris Dobie, then Nathan Aspinall to win the title. You become only the third non-tour card holder to win a Players' Championship. Do you know who the other two were before you?
Yeah, Christoph and Mr. Mernon, I think.
Very good. And when that winning double goes in to beat Nathan, what was that moment like? Did it take some time to realise what you'd just done?
Honestly, obviously, a lot of people have asked me the same question over the last week. It must feel fantastic, being the double is good, but you kind of don't realise what you've just done. To me, going into that game, it was just to win the game. Not bothered about the money, not bothered about a title. It's like you've got a player in front of you, you beat them. It's as simple as that. And I was really frustrated actually when the double finally went in, because I missed 5 or 6 match darts prior to that, and it was more of a relief. It's like you do finally go in that dart, and it has to be double 2 as well. What a crappy double.
Well, even before the title, you were looking in a good position for Ali Pali, but winning the title, that should see you safe for that World Championship in December. And it's given you, as you mentioned, a real shot at qualifying for some of the other major events, maybe even getting in the top 64 come the end of the year. Have you had a chance to see where this title's put you in those races?
Yeah, I've had a quick look on the old websites and bits and bobs. Obviously, they keep all this information, and but obviously it's nice to look at them, but there is still a long way to go. I think it's still 10 players championships to go, or thereabouts. 11 players championships to go, as well as European championships, which I'm only in 2, and you've got some professionals that are above me that are in a couple of the Euro Tour. So all it takes is for one or 2 good weekends and picking money up here and there just to keep plodding along, and that's what I'm going to try and do. Just not worry about the winning the money too much and getting the points. It's just winning the games.
Well, we've gone this far without mentioning your best achievement from last week, and that's the blind 180 while playing for England in the Six Nations at the weekend. Is that the first time you've done that in a game?
No, I did it against Adam Gavlas on the Euro Tour.
It's more of a trademark for you then?
Yeah, it's just I'm pretty like Chris Murphy and the commentary team like to call me like a showman, and that's what it is. I mean, I love darts, and people love watching darts, and it's an entertainment. You're there to entertain people, and if it's going to go in, it's going to go in. So I just do it. I like to have a bit of fun up there. Not many people are a big fan of the fun, but I like to call fun. But it's we're living in the days of social media and the presence of that, and people. And like I said in an interview with Dan Dawson, like I want people to know who I am now, anyway, and I want them to see what I can do and how I do it, and as much as tempting as it was on PDC TV to chuck in some blind 180s against Nathan and Chris and Johnny, I had to refrain from myself from doing it.
Is that something then that you go into a particular game or a tournament thinking, I fancy doing that today, or is it something that's just a spur of the moment thing in the game?
It's usually a spur of a moment thing. Like you know yourself, if you're playing and the two darts sit up in the treble 20. If you hit many treble 20s, I'm not the same as you, but if you hit 2 treble 20s and they sit there, then I'm just going to do it. The online live league, I had 105 left. I went ball 5 and I went for the bullseye again, just because of the line and the lay of the first dart. It was perfect, so I had to go for it. I didn't hit it; it ricocheted and went into 25. But that's how I think in a game: is if it's going to be hit, if it looks like it's going to be hit, it's going to be hit.
Fair play. Well, whenever I get 2 treble 20s, the third one usually ends up in the treble 12. So, not as good. But I mentioned the Six Nations, England just missing out on the men's and the women's titles at the weekend. But what was it like for you putting on that England shirt representing your country?
Oh, it's one of these, the accolade, it feels incredible when you do it. It was actually one of my goals for this year, was to be picked for England. And then I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go at the beginning of the year, because I'd set the highest average of the UKDA of the season, and I was sitting pretty nice in the rankings, and then I dropped because I missed a couple of games due to PDC stuff. So I wasn't quite sure if I was going to get picked or not, but all the chairmans and selectors and all these people spoke to me and told me that I was probably going to get picked and whether I was available. But just to play for your country, regardless of codes and stuff like that. It's just incredible.
Great achievement. And I think you touched on it in your interview with Dan after winning the Players' Championship title, juggling work and the darts. You've had a lot of time away playing this year. What is the situation now with your work? Are you focused solely on the darts now? How does it work?
It's just the darts. I gave up my job last year we have a small child. We have a 1-year-old daughter as well. Well, we have 2 children, but we have a 1-year-old. One's in school, and it's genuinely easier and cheaper for me to just stay at home and play darts than to pay all the fees for the nurseries and stuff like that. So so my sole thing's been darts for the last 18 months, with a lot of live league last year, and obviously this year a lot of PDC stuff. So been really grateful to the wife and the grandparents for looking after the children when I'm away or we're away, and it's just been a crazy year, let alone the last 6 months.
Well, it's going well, and when we last spoke, we mentioned your nickname Shaggy. You said you weren't a fan of the nickname, it came from work. Are you going to stick with Shaggy, or maybe you might go with the show Chris Murphy said?
Well, yeah, someone asked me this last night as well. I'm not as a nickname, but people know me as Shaggy. It's my name around my local town. My football players, everyone who knows me as Shag or Shaggy or whatever. But I don't like it as a darts nickname. But in the next year or so, I will be looking. Maybe the showman. The showman could work. It's an option, but we'll see over the next 6 months, year, see how things progress and see what comes to mind.
Fair enough. Well, and lastly, before we let you go, July, it looks busy with that Euro Tour. You've got 3 Players' Championships, the Challenge Tour, all on consecutive weekends, maybe even a World Match Play debut if you get enough results. Any events this weekend, or is it going to be a quiet one ahead of that stretch of events?
Quiet weekend with the wife. We're actually going to watch Green Day and Fall Out Boy in Huddersfield this weekend. It was a Valentine's gift for the wife. But I had to look through the calendar just to make sure that we had a free weekend so we could go watch. But yeah, busy in Trier. 4 Pro Tours now, not 3. They've added another one, and then the Challenge Tour or Match Play the week after. Hoping the Match Play, but there's still 2 or 3 weeks to go, so we'll see.
Well, I hope you have a great time this weekend. Congratulations again on the title last week. The England call-up as well, playing in the Six Nations, and we wish you all the best for the next few weeks and however the rest of the year goes as well.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.